Hey guys, Janette Barber, Daily Woodie, Central Park, New York City. You know what I was thinking today? I would tell the story of the peas. Now, I know some of you have heard the story of the peas, but it is my most requested story. And on radio, here on the Woodie, everywhere. So I thought I would just tell it again. And it's actually my favorite story. It's my favorite story about my father and I. And it spans decades. It's a saga. It's a saga that is not even, that I don't think is over yet. So years and years ago, when we were little, my father takes me and my sister and we go on vacation to go to Skyline Drive, the Shenandoah Valley in Virginia. So we go and we're driving. It's really beautiful there, and it starts at Front Royal, but somewhere around the middle, I'm not sure, maybe it was Luray, somewhere there, we went down out of the mountain and went to a grocery store. And in the grocery store, on the shelves, we saw canned black-eyed peas and field peas. Now, we thought this was hysterical. We'd never seen such a thing, because in Connecticut, where we lived, they didn't have that. We didn't even know they existed. So, and my father's going, oh, well, should we buy this? And we go, yes, we should definitely buy these, you know. So he buys the peas, and he puts them in the car, and we finish our vacation, and we come back to the farm, and my father puts the cans of peas in the cupboard. And as time passes, the conversation is, you know, we really ought to eat those peas. But, you know, black-eyed peas and canned field peas, we're afraid of them. We didn't eat them. But we kept saying we should eat those peas. And then, as they got so old and too much time had passed, the conversation went from we should eat those peas to too bad we didn't eat those peas. That's sad, you know, because we bought those peas, but, you know, we didn't eat those peas. And then more time passes, and the peas are still, you know, living happily in the cupboard. And now my father has really started to think, what should we do with those peas? Because he doesn't know what to do. He can't just throw them away. So he thinks about it, and then one day he figures it out, and he tells me that he realizes that the only way he's going to really be able to feel comfortable about the peas is if we return them to their homeland, back to Virginia. So, all right, that's what it takes. We pack up the car, me and my father, and we go back to Virginia. But when we get there, well, what do we do with the peas? I mean, you can't just throw them in a trash can. I mean, they've come so far. They've been with us for so long. So we've got to find a place where the peas are going to be happy, where the peas are going to feel good, where the peas are going to be safe. So now we're on a hunt. We drive the length of Skyline Drive. We go walking on trails, but we don't see a place where we think the peas are going to be happy. So we keep going. Now we're down in on the Blue Ridge Mountain Parkway, and we're driving and we're stopping and looking, and then we pull over at one place. And we just, I don't know, we go, we're gonna go walking in the woods here. We're gonna look for a place. So I'm leading the way, carrying the peas, and my father's behind me with his little leather notebook and a pencil so he can draw a map in case we ever need to find the peas. So we're walking, and then we come across the perfect place. This big, it was this giant rock, and at the bottom was like a little natural cave in it. And my father and I look at each other, and we both felt exactly the same. This was the home for our peas. This is exactly the right place for our peas. So we put the peas in there, and we run around. We find other rocks so we can block off the opening so nobody can see it, and the peas are going to be safe in there. And we took branches and are dragging them through the leaves so no one could see anybody had been there, so that our peas would be there, you know, happy and safe. And we got back in the car, felt really good, and we drove home. And then as more years passed, my father would, you know, he'd wonder how those peas are. He'd wonder if an animal had gotten them. He'd wonder if they were safe there. It's just something to kind of think about. At night, our peas were there in that cave by themselves. Well, together. They were at least together at night. And then at some point, my father and I go to we take another trip. This time we're going to go to Nova Scotia. He had a camper at this point. So we go on a trip to Nova Scotia. And somewhere in Nova Scotia, we went into a grocery store and bought some raisins. So then my father, one day in the camper, is eating the raisins and he drops the raisins. And then with minimal swearing, he picks up all the raisins, puts them back in the bag, and he shows them to me. He goes, "Don't eat these are dirty," and he puts them back in the cupboard. And we finish our trip. We come back from Nova Scotia, but now he doesn't know what to do with those raisins, because he can't just throw them away, because he remembers the trip and he remembers when we bought them. So he can't just toss them. So he keeps them. He keeps them, and he's wondering. He doesn't know really what to do. And then my sister decides she wants the old cans of peas. She wonders if we can get those back, because my sister's an artist. She's a metalsmith, and she was working on an installation, and she wanted not only rusty cans, she wanted those rusty cans. So would we mind dashing down and picking up the old rusty pea cans for her? And my father thinks, "Oh my God, this is perfect. This is perfect, because he can bring the raisins." So he takes the raisins and he puts them in a can, and he solders around the top of the can so it's sealed. And we go now on Pea Quest 2 back to Virginia to find the peas. And we drove the length of Skyline Drive again. We drove into the Blue Ridge Mountain Parkway, and we didn't even need the map. It had been years, and we drove right to the spot. We got out of the car, and we could walk. I swear to God, I think I can still walk right to it. We walked over there. We found the rock, and it was completely untouched. Nothing had happened. The little entryway was still rocked over, and we moved them aside, and there were our peas. There were our peas, and they were perfectly fine. Bloated. They were a bit bloated at this point, and the labels were kind of falling off, and they were rusty, but they were there, and they were whole. So we got the peas out for my sister, and we put the can of raisins in there, because now the cave can't be left empty anyway. That would have been its own separate travesty. And we also had this little doll that we bought at a gift shop at Skyline Drive. It's this little touristy toy with a nut as a head, and it was a little old lady churning butter shaped like a nut. And my father put her in an empty peanut butter jar. My father loved putting things in jars. He loved it. You can't get any dust on them. So we put her in there because you can't leave the raisins alone. It had to be there with something, So the nuthead lady and the raisins are now in the cave, and we rock it back up. We take our pecans, we hide our tracks, and we come back. And my father's gone now, and I told that story at his funeral. And now, I wonder how the raisins are. I do. I think about the raisins sometimes. The raisins in their little cave at night. I wonder if the little old lady is still happy. I wonder if an animal got them. I wonder if anybody found them. So I think that someday I'm going to go back and see whether or not I can find the raisins and the old lady. So, and that is the story of the peas. See you guys. Share it if you like it. Bye-bye.